So welcome. We're going to talk about why you've been coming too fast, whether it was the last couple of months or since you ever started having sex. I'm really passionate about this because there should be no shame added on top of it or humiliation or embarrassment. Already, it's a psychophysiologic disorder. Your physical body is not responding the way that you would like it to. That's already very suffocating and challenging in its own right. But the fact that people are afraid to talk about it, they're like, oh, it's taboo. Oh, we can't say that out loud. We shouldn't talk about sex. Or, oh, if I talk about Prejac, other women are going to look down on me, or other potential partners or my friends, and blah, blah, blah. This is literally health that we're talking about, mental and physical health combined, sexual health. So in this series, I want to help you understand why you have premature ejaculation, what you can do about it. I'm going to tell my story in depth as well. But in this episode, we're talking about why you have Prejac. And I really want to help you understand what led up to this. Because if you've been dealing with lifelong Prejac, meaning ever since you had penetrative sex and it's always been an issue, or acquired, it's been more recent, there are reasons why. It's not random. So, and I'll also show you how Prejac and digestive issues and chronic headaches, anxiety, amongst other symptoms, they're all connected and ultimately come from the same source. A lot of people are like, yeah, this is Prejac, but I have low back pain and I go to the chiropractor, or I have IBS, so I go to my gastroenterologist, and then I take these probiotics. Everything's intimately connected. Now, if you have a structural issue, like you had a recent injury, a tissue issue, an actual damage in the body, a pathogen, cancerous growth, of course, biomedical intervention is useful. But if you're having psychophysiologic symptoms that are very real, premature ejaculation being one of them, it's really cool how the root causes, when you start really going beneath the surface, instead of trying to fix them at the level of the symptom, and you actually turn your attention back towards yourself as someone who is responsible for creating them, but that also has the power to let them go. You liberate yourself, and you had the powers inside of you. So let's do it. I was in this gel cell of Prejac for many years. I couldn't get my body to do what I wanted it to. It was extremely frustrating, super annoying. I just wanted to stay in and last longer, be able to enjoy sex, connect with my partner. And yeah, I can't believe I'm even making these videos now. It makes sense now, but my past self, when I was going through that, definitely wouldn't have wanted to talk about this out loud. But that pain led me down a path that also was coupled with pelvic floor issues, urinary issues, or ED at times, that forced me down a crucible of transformation. I wasn't really asking for it or wanting it, but ultimately I am grateful for it. Since then, I've helped over 1,000 men with pelvic and sexual issues, is what I do now, unexpectedly. Now, it's really important for you to know that your body is physiologically fine and capable of having penetrative sex right now for 20 minutes or more. Now, this is really important for you to know. Your body is physiologically fine and capable of having penetrative sex right now for 20 minutes or more. Let that sink in. Now your mind's like, no, of course it can't. That never happens. No, your physical body, the physiology, the anatomy is capable. Now, there might be someone saying, what about the neurotransmitters and the genetic propensity and the shaft sensitivity? All of these things are modifiable via the natural redirection of neural pathways. All of these things can be modified and changed. What we're getting at here is that your body is capable of this. And that's really good to know. Because, if you lost your arm and you don't have an arm anymore, can you do things with your left hand? Can you play an instrument that requires two hands? You literally cannot, because you don't have that arm. You would be limited in some way, some sort of handicap. So when it comes to premature ejaculation, your physical body has that capability. However, you are absolutely experiencing this feeling of being trapped in a body that does not respond to your conscious desires. There is also something happening neurophysiologically due to underlying factors that's creating a fast ejaculatory response. This happens in the autonomic nervous system. So there is neurophysiology that's taking place. The brain is directing the physiology, and these things are happening, the ejaculatory response, due to underlying factors. So it's not a psychological issue. we would call it psychophysiologic or neurophysiologic because there are elements of thoughts and emotions and belief systems and conditioning through neural pathways over a period of time, whether it be masturbating fast and hard, training yourself to ejaculate every time whenever you engage in the sexual act, whether it be alone or with someone else. All of these things, of course, fortify the neural circuitry. So that does matter. But your body has the capability. So I just want to point that out. And so yeah, there's no physiologic barrier to you having an extended ejaculatory response. So you're probably wondering, why the hell is this happening in my body right now? First, we're going to go over lifelong PE, and then we'll go over acquired PE. So lifelong would mean you've always dealt with this ever since you started having penetrative sex, possibly also with masturbation. And you might have had a couple of instances where you're like, yeah, I lasted longer than a minute. We're typically talking about 1 minute or less. You could have different variances, though. It could be that you've always lasted just a couple of minutes or less. It's been a challenge. It creates stress, emotional stress. It feels like you're limited in your ability to engage in the sexual act. And so acquired PE would be, there was a time earlier in your life where you could go longer, you had more endurance. You're like, sometimes I'd last 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes. It would just vary. But for the last 3 years or the last 3 months, for some reason, I'm coming in less than a minute. Like, what the hell changed? So we'll get to that, but that's acquired PE. Now, this is huge for lifelong PE. And like, I work with a lot of clients with lifelong PE because I get the really hard cases that come to me. I'm just saying, not everyone is just going through their own experience. I mean, people who have like turned over every stone seemingly, but the root causes are what's left and really the most important element of it anyway. But we typically do start, right, with the topical things, going to doctors, going down the medical route, going down the doing activities. Let me do stretches. Let me do exercises. Let me do all these things. Let me use devices, because it seems like you're able to fix it in that way. And for some, it works, right? It's kind of the low-hanging fruit depending on the situation. But yeah, it goes a lot deeper than that. So for lifelong PE, you haven't had it since you were born, since you were a baby. It's not that you've always had premature ejaculation since day one. Now, I know there is an inconclusive genetic theory that says maybe, due to your genetics, this is why you're ejaculating faster than others. Now, I will say I've seen it disproven, though, through clients who have overcome their lifelong Prejac anyway. So they were dealing with it, and then now they're not. And then also, if you study epigenetics, meaning above genetics, it's really what determines how your genes are expressed, why you can have two twins, they have the same genetic coding, the same material, yet one dies at age 90, one dies at age 50. Why is this? They might even live in the same town. Their inner environment is most important, meaning thoughts, emotions, belief systems, all of these things that create the environment. The blood is the environment that actually leads to the expression of the gene that creates healthier or cheaper proteins. And those are the building blocks of life. So what I'm saying is that even if you're like, oh, maybe it's because of genetics, I mean, even that can be disproven and changed and modified. But what I'm getting at here is that there was something that happened from when you were born to the first time you had sex. Let's say you were born and the first time you had sex was when you were 16 years old, as an example. And that first time you had sex, it was quick. And then ever since then, you've always had, premature ejaculation. What we want to look at then is what happened in those 16 years as an example. And of course, after that too matters, but I just want to point that out. So original conditioning around sex is part of this. Familial conditioning, cultural, religious. So a lot of times there's a shame, an embarrassment, a humiliation, a guilt, a sinfulness, just a fear and a discomfort around the act of sex. And it can feel wrong for many. I mean, that were raised in recent times. There has been a big shroud of negativity, or it just seems like it's something you shouldn't be thinking about or engaging in, and it's really, really, really bad. So that's one area. There can be this type of conditioning. It's really important, by the way. It does matter. And then also kind of personal, within yourself type of conditioning. That could come from feelings of inadequacy. It could be related to just not feeling that you size up or stack up to everyone around you, like concerned. The other guys have girlfriends and, they like them, and like, why don't I'm just speaking, heterosexually, but it could be, of course, any sex, any gender, pick your gender. It's the same thing. But this feeling of not being good enough, and also this a contraction, because like really premature ejaculation is like a geyser. So there's this buildup of pressure, and then the ejaculatory response is like when the geyser erupts. It's the quickest way to release that pressure. So if that pressure and tension has been built up throughout your life, or commonly throughout your life, and a lot of contraction, like I'm overly conscientious, always concerned, I don't want to make sounds, or be made fun of, or burp or fart, or be loud. I'm afraid to sing or dance or play, or just like be me all the way. This can show up in a lot of different ways, but the point is tension and anxiety, worry. This is ultimately creating a lot of stress inside of the body. And it could be also related to penis size. This is something that I've seen a lot, and what I went through as well. Like, wow, I feel like other guys around me, they seem to be bigger from what I'm seeing, whether it be porn or in the locker room or whatever situation, from family members, I don't know. And you can get into your head like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be good enough. I don't know if, my future partners will even like me, or I'm going to please them enough, and all of that. So it leads to lack of confidence and in yourself. And this really kind of starts to construct the personality as well. So stress and worry about performing, this sort of alpha male competitive sex culture is along the same lines. Like, you need to last all night long to please her. This seems to be pervasive culturally. This feeling of, if you're not able to do that, you kind of suck and you're pointless. Like, why do you exist? This is quite embedded too in the way that men and teenagers and guys usually jostle one another and shame them and make fun of one another. So a lot of this goes into it as well. The personality construct aspect is really important. But really, what is that? It's a combination of thoughts, belief systems, beliefs that you're probably not even aware of. I mean, a belief is an unexamined thought. It's a thought that no longer has to be thunk, because you just take it as reality. Another really big one is masturbation and porn habits. So masturbating quickly, because you don't want to get caught, or because you feel shame, or because like, I just got to rub this out in the bathroom, or before anyone comes around, or when people are out of the house, or all that stuff. So it can lead to this feeling of urgency. Like, I kind of want to finish. I need to finish because I want this. I want to masturbate. It feels great. I want to experience this. But also, I don't really have time to just lay out and do whatever I want and take the whole day or whatever. Porn habits are part of this, because there's this chemical introduction, and there's a lot going on neurochemically that affects the body. But again, it's kind of that fast and hard, masturbating a certain way, and you're training your body to have a certain type of connection to the sexual act. And a big thing is always ejaculating with any sort of pleasuring, whether it be self-pleasuring or sex. Yeah, so when you consider all these things, what went on earlier in your life to before you ever started having sex, and then first time you have sex, you might have a really bad traumatic experience that only confirms or complicates this issue and makes you feel even worse about yourself, and then it continues to get confirmed over and over again. And that reactivation can also come from nervous system upregulation. So those personality tendencies that I mentioned a little bit, being really focused on the future, or avoiding confrontation, or being overly conscientious, or low self-esteem, or really being in your head all the time, not being present, more heady versus hearty. So being more in your head versus your heart. And all this can lead to nervous system upregulation, which has a lot to do with sexual function. Fear, so reacting to the issue. So when you do come too fast, pretty much trying to fix it, figure out frustration, self-flagellation, just really hating yourself, being annoyed, frustrated by the situation. And that can lead you to distraction, distracting yourself with other things, with work, with social media, technology, with addictions, whatever they are, so that you don't have to feel that deeper subconscious content, those deeper feelings of inadequacy, or of fear that you're not good enough, or criticism or judgment, all those sort of things. So let's talk about acquired PE now. Now, there are similarities. It's just that you have memory of having control or more endurance, and that can be helpful to lean on. You don't have to have that memory but it can make you realize like, oh yeah, duh, I can go back there or do something even beyond what I ever did before, which is what I would recommend. But what it is, it started unexpectedly. You don't understand why. You might know why though. But we need to look at things like life stressors. So what was going on around the time when that premature ejaculation came on, or the time leading up to it? Now, it could be something kind of obvious, like a relationship issue, or a ton of stress at work, financial challenges, another health issue that happened kind of at a similar time. Or it could be not as obvious, like you were grieving the loss of your father, or some sort of major loss in your life, really deep emotional stuff that really wasn't fully felt and let go of. So that can create dysregulation, psychophysiologic dysregulation, which can show up as premature ejaculation. So yeah, these repressed emotions, life stressors, relationship challenges are definitely a part of it. An upregulated nervous system in general. I mean, just go, 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 go. You just are so used to it now. It could be a central sensitization, a sensitized nervous system because of trauma, because of continued like overwork, overuse, not decompressing, not letting yourself have that time, or not thinking it's possible to even have the time to chill out. And being able to, again, get out of the head and not always be thinking and worrying and trying to figure things out and solve problems and everything like this. So yeah, it's genitourinary dysregulation to distract you from deeper feelings as a messenger that something needs to change. There is an imbalance in your mind-body system. Not just there's something wrong with my pelvic floor muscles or my penis or my testicles. Like I've got to go to that region of the body and fix it. That's not what we're talking about. This genitourinary system is governed by the autonomic nervous system. Therefore, the subconscious processes have a lot to do with it. You can't just will it and change it in that way. That's why for many, changing premature ejaculation has been so challenging. You can build your chest up. You're like, I'm going to do 200 push-ups every day. Or you can use an act of will and kind of change parts of your body, parts of your lifestyle. But when it comes to this, we need to actually go below the level of the conscious thinking mind, the place where, you haven't really been wanting to go, or even maybe you didn't know you need to go there. And that's where you can see the root causes. Now, maybe you've never heard of it talked about this way, but premature ejaculation is actually mind-body syndrome, also known as TMS, or psychophysiologic dysfunction, psychosomatic. You could call it neural circuit dysfunction, neuroplastic dysfunction. It pretty much means that the mind is affecting the body, and there's not a structural issue at play, which I already talked about at the beginning of this episode. But what's interesting here is that the same underlying process that creates neural circuit pain, such as low back pain, chronic headaches. It can also create dysfunction such as irritable bowel syndrome, urinary frequency, erectile dysfunction. It can create things such as anxiety or depression and premature ejaculation. So again, what's nice about this is that the more you go into looking at your root causes and revealing them and releasing them, and naturally, you're going to start changing who you're being. You're not going to let go of your personality. You're actually going to bring forth your true self, not the self that was created via coping mechanisms out of fear. And you'll be more of your true self, more relaxed, more aligned. Of course, sex is going to be great whenever you're not so worried about everything in your life. You're not so worried about if sex is going to be good or not, or this or that. I'm not saying you're going to release all anxiety, all worries, or some sort of magical pill. That's not the point. It's definitely not a pill. It's inside of you. But yeah, these other health issues that you might think are, these are verifiable structural health issues. I mean, look into that, right? Look into that. Are they? Is your mind also creating them at the same time? Because if you're dividing your energy to try to fix, again, my back pain is this one thing. It's because I used to pick up heavy boxes and I lifted them wrong 8 years ago and blah, 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 blah. And then I've got food sensitivity issues. Like I see a lot of overlap typically with my clients. It's not always the case, but in many cases they have mind-body health conditions either at the same time right now or in the past that they'll start to recognize. So back to the geyser metaphor, it's a really great explanation of how this works. The more underlying stressors at play, the faster the pressure builds up, and the fastest way to a release would be this geyser, this ejaculatory response coming out. So if you have this habituated response, that is a fast way to get the release of tension. You've trained your brain and your body together for that to happen. Tension leads to this ejaculation. So whenever you're more relaxed, even before you ever have sex, just as a default state in life, your mind and your body have less tension. Your pelvic floor has less tension. This is all relevant because ejaculation is a function of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system. Whenever you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, this, first of all, allows you to get a better erection, and it allows you to stay in that state of pleasure and presence and connection. That doesn't mean you're like falling asleep having sex with your partner. I mean, you can be really beast mode and in it, but it's very primal. It's very much in the body. It's very somatic. It's very like you even start to feel energy more and more the way you go into this. Like you start having energy orgasms and multiple orgasms that go beyond just out in the penis and that genital area. So it's pretty cool what starts to happen as well. But the point is, the more we let go of the underlying stressors, the less pressure there is. So the less need for that geyser eruption to happen. So why haven't you overcome Prejac yet? You could think of it like this, that you have a balloon here. And you've been filling this balloon up with more air. You're like, I want it to rise. I want it to rise. I want it to rise. You keep pumping it up with air. You're doing Kegels and you're doing reverse Kegels and you're doing edging and you're doing breath work and you're using devices and you're using Taoist tools and tricks. And you're like, I'm going to get this. I've read all of the Reddit posts. I will figure this out and I will make this happen. And you're so freaking dead set on it. I'm telling you because that's how I used to be. I'm telling you because I tried those things a lot. And the thing is, this balloon, you're trying to fill up with air. It's tethered to the ground. It's tethered to the ground. You need to cut those tethers and it naturally rises. And then you could pump it up with more air if you want to just go sex god crazy. That's totally fine. So what I mean is that the root cause release is 80% of it. The practices are 20%. They still matter. You know, we created a program called Vigor Sexual Strength. We've got solo sexual practices, partner breath works. We've got movement routines. We do the pelvic floor coordination and strengthening, and we do the energy movement. All the tools are really helpful, but the tools without addressing the root causes that are creating the stress response, the underlying habituated stress response or ejaculatory release, those root causes need to be addressed and looked at. So you've probably been trying everything you can out there to fix it. The mechanical therapies, the surface level stuff, right? You need to discover why there's this energy of stress connected to sex instead of an energy of relaxation. Examining the personality tendencies and the repressed emotions, if there are any. You might not know because you're not very aware of your emotions or you don't give any value to them. You give more value to logic and thinking, and you're like, why does that matter? Deep-seated beliefs, those are typically kind of hard to see because they're beliefs. You just take them at face value to be what is. Also, the pressure to perform. It's like, I need to be great at this. You know, fear of judgment from another, from yourself, fear of losing a relationship. If I'm not good at this, if I start dating or, you know, we have sex and we're not going to have another date, we're not going to stay together, or if I don't fix this, we're going to get a divorce. If I don't fix this, my partner's going to leave me, right? Or ultimately, the really deep one, not being loved because you're not good enough, not being loved because you're broken or you're just not up to par, right? These things that if you really feel into them and they strike a chord, listen to that. I'm not damning you to hell or being like, yeah, you're stuck now. No, you're on the right path now. Now you're actually feeling something real that wants to be heard, that wants to be felt, that wants to be released. And it shows up in premature ejaculation, anxiety, depression, other health conditions. It's seriously not rocket science. Like, it's something that sadly our medical system, our health system, our education system doesn't tell people about. So they have to figure it out on YouTube or something, which YouTube's awesome. Thank you guys for being here, or wherever you're watching this, but I imagine it's on YouTube. So getting out of your head is also part of this. And like I don't just mean like you need to be calm and be zen and all of that, but seriously being so caught up in fantasy and this like always thinking about sex and always wanting and always wanting. So let me give you an analogy. Imagine that you live in the middle of nowhere on a mountain and you had ice cream one time when you were younger and it was like, oh, it was so good. It's so tasty. You still remember it. And you find out your family's like, we're actually going to go to the city and we're going to get some ice cream. You're like, we're going to get ice cream? What? And you know you're going to go get ice cream 3 weeks from now. You think about it and you're like thinking about the flavor you're going to get and how it's going to feel in your mouth and just what it was like the last time you had it. And you're just so like pumped up about it. And you literally put a lot of your consciousness into this thought and energy around it and anticipation. The day comes and you're at the ice cream shop and you're just so excited. Like they're handing it to you and you grab it and you drop your ice cream because you're so ready to have it. You don't even get to eat your ice cream. There was only enough money for y'all to get one ice cream cone. Or you could also say you start eating it and you eat it really fast. You're like, oh my God, this is so good. You just like inhale it. You're like, oh, what? Can I have some more? No. So what I'm saying is that if you have this energy of lack almost, or crazy buildup in your mind about something, you're not as relaxed and present. It doesn't mean you won't totally savor it. You'll actually savor it even more. Imagine eating that ice cream slower, feeling every single taste, every flavor, every ingredient, the mouth, the tongue, the throat, the smells, the sounds, the licking, all of it. What is a deeper, greater experience? Which one is more ecstatic? You know which one's more ecstatic. So what I'm talking about is that when you're not in your head, like, oh, I have this new person I'm dating, or you're thinking about it. And on one hand, you're like concerned. On the other hand, you're super excited. These are still extreme mental patterns, right? And it can create imbalances. You could think about lust too, like lots of lust and like really wanting every single person you see, like thinking about having sex with them, and you're watching porn. It's a big imbalance in the first energy center of the body. And also no sexual energy, repressing it, pushing it away. It's like bad. You shouldn't have sex. You shouldn't feel that way ever. Also really imbalanced. What I'm talking about is being more primal, more in your body, more in the present moment, more here and now. All right, so that's why you're going through this. I can't say it's a cover-all of everything. Did my very best to share something with you today. You can post comments about any questions, reach out to me. In the next episode, I'll share my raw and uncut premature ejaculation story. I've actually never done this before. I talk to my clients about it sometimes. My current partner knows about most of this. I'm probably going to say things I've never said before, though. And I want to give you a gift, not like, here's this one PDF and I want your email address to market to you for the next 10 years. Legitimately, it's really cool. It's called Control Your Cum. It's a $97 mini course that has a masterclass, but it's got really good tools. A conscious masturbation audio. It's really nice. It's got breath work. It's got music. It's got someone guiding it, really sultry, sensual voice. It's not me. And there is a couples pre-sex connect breath work. There's a last longer cheat sheet. Like, what do you do the day of sex, during sex? It's really cool, but I'm actually going to give it to you for free. If you just DM me on Instagram, the word control, I'll give it to you so you can start using it. Their tools are really useful. Going from information to application is really important, because if you're stuck in the phase of information, you're stuck in your head. And you need to start integrating it. Like I said, not just the doing practices, but also the root cause release stuff. So hope this was helpful. Looking forward to having you in the next episode.